He kept visiting an ancient ship, until it finally reactivated with a message. There, amidst floating asteroids and the endless black of the void, lay relics of civilizations long gone. Ships abandoned for centuries, drifting silently, untouched by any living hand. Most explorers would glance at them, take a photo for history's sake, and move on. But Eli was different. There was one ship in particular that had caught his attention from the moment he first saw it. It was enormous, larger than any vessel he had ever encountered, yet it had a strange elegance to it. Its surface was worn and scratched, but the outlines of its design were unlike anything in the human database. The hull was smooth in some places, jagged and intricate in others, and faintly glowing lines ran across its surface like veins of light. It had been abandoned for centuries, yet something about it seemed alive. Eli called it Astra, though he knew the name was his own invention. The real name, if it had one, was lost to time. Every week he returned, donning his suit, and floated into the ship through the wide breach in its side. The air inside was stale, metallic, and cold. Lights did not shine. Panels were silent. And yet, Eli felt as if the ship were watching him. The first time he entered, he moved cautiously. The corridors twisted and bent in ways that made his head tilt in confusion. Sometimes the hallways seemed to stretch farther than they should, and the walls pulsed faintly under his fingertips. Eli was an engineer by training, a tinkerer by heart. Machines spoke to him even if they were silent, and this ship, whatever it was trying to speak. He spent hours each visit exploring. He made detailed notes in a digital pad, drawing diagrams of the strange glyphs etched into the hull. The symbols glowed faintly when his gloves brushed them. He had no idea what they meant, but they fascinated him. There were shapes that seemed almost musical, patterns that repeated, spirals within spirals. Eli had seen ancient alien scripts before, but this was unlike anything. Days turned into weeks. Eli tried to power up the ship, checking circuits, connecting small probes to its systems, running diagnostic scans. The ship never responded. Its engine stayed cold. Its panels stayed dark. It was dead, or so it seemed. Most people would have given up, written it off as a relic with no value. But Eli felt differently. There was something inside Astra, something waiting. He returned again and again, talking to it as he worked. "You're stubborn, aren't you?" he whispered once, his voice echoing slightly in the empty hall. "I like that, shows character." He chuckled at his own words, though the empty corridors offered no reply. Still, he continued. Humans were stubborn too, he reminded himself. And maybe, just maybe, the ship recognized that. One evening, Eli was sitting on a narrow ledge overlooking the central chamber of the ship. He had floated here for hours, documenting patterns in the lights etched into the walls. Outside, the asteroid field shimmered faintly as the sun caught the ice and rock. Inside, the ship was silent, dark, and still. Yet Eli felt a thrill he could not explain. He had discovered a small console near the floor. It was partially buried under debris, but the symbols glowed faintly when touched. Eli knelt and wiped the dust away. His fingers traced the lines. He pressed a button, expecting nothing, but the console hummed softly under his touch. A single light blinked. One, then two. Then a line of soft pulses, almost like a heartbeat. Eli's heart raced. "Finally," he breathed. "You're awake just a little." He jotted down the sequence, studying the pattern. It was not random. There was rhythm, almost like music. But it was not music humans could hear. It was a language. Perhaps the ship had been trying to communicate all along. He spent the next few hours experimenting. Each touch, each press of a symbol elicited a small response, a flicker of light, a gentle vibration under his hands, a change in the glow of the glyphs. He had no way of knowing if the ship understood him, or if it was merely reacting mechanically. But he felt certain it recognized something in him. Eli often thought about why the ship had been abandoned. Perhaps its creators had disappeared, or perhaps it had been sent as a message to the stars. There were stories among human explorers about vessels left behind by civilizations far older than any humans had yet discovered. Ships designed to last thousands of years, waiting for someone curious, someone patient, someone human to find them. That night, Eli floated near the bridge of Astra, staring out at the stars. The ship seemed to breathe under his hands. Faint lights ran along the hull, slowly pulsing like it had a heartbeat. He wondered what it would feel like to awaken it fully, to hear its voice. What stories it would tell, what knowledge it could share. Humans were curious, Eli knew. It was a trait that had kept their species alive, that had driven them to explore strange planets, to cross light years in tiny ships, to build machines and machines that thought and worked. Perhaps it was human curiosity that had brought him to Astra. Perhaps that same curiosity was the reason the ship had waited so long, waiting for someone who would not give up, someone who would listen patiently. Over the next weeks, Eli continued his visits. Each time he discovered a new detail. A small panel hidden behind a wall, a glyph that glowed in a different color, a vibration that seemed like a signal. He recorded everything meticulously. And though the ship did not speak in words, he felt its presence growing stronger, more aware. One evening, he was about to leave when he noticed a faint shimmer along the floor near the central chamber. He crouched down and saw a tiny projection, almost like a hologram. It was weak, fragmented, but it was there. Shapes moved, then settled into something resembling a star map. Eli gasped. "You're trying to show me something," he whispered. The map was unlike any human chart. Stars, nebulae, and strange symbols lit up in patterns he could not recognize. Eli floated closer, studying the projection. The ship was alive. It was not just metal and circuits. It had memory, it had purpose, and it had waited for him. For some reason, it had waited for a human, someone patient enough, clever enough, and persistent enough to notice the small signals, to understand the faint patterns, to care enough to return week after week. He smiled, feeling a connection he could not explain. "I'll help you," he promised quietly. "I'll figure you out. We'll do this together." The ship hummed softly, as if acknowledging him. He did not know if it could understand words, but he felt certain it understood intent. As Eli floated back to his shuttle that night, he looked once more at Astra. It shimmered faintly in the starlight, almost like it was breathing. A single line of glowing glyphs traced along the hull, pulsing in rhythm. He knew, somehow, that this was only the beginning. The universe was vast, full of mysteries and wonders beyond imagining. But Eli had found one of the oldest, most remarkable secrets it held. And for the first time in his life, he felt that humans had a place in the cosmos not because of strength or speed, but because of something simpler, something deeper: curiosity, patience, and the courage to care. Eli did not yet know what the ship's message would be. He did not know what secrets Astra held or how far its knowledge could reach. But he knew one thing: he would return, again and again, and one day the ship would speak. Not with words, perhaps, but with something far greater, a connection between human and machine, mind and memory, past and future. As he set his shuttle on autopilot and drifted away from the asteroid field, Eli's thoughts were filled with anticipation. Weeks, months, maybe even years of careful exploration lay ahead, but he did not mind. Curiosity was a human trait, and it had led him to the stars. Astra had waited a long time for him, and now it was beginning to awaken. And in the quiet hum of the shuttle, with the black void stretching endlessly beyond, Eli felt the first stirrings of something extraordinary. Something that would change everything, not just for him, but perhaps for all of humanity. Eli Marston's visits to Astra had become the highlight of his weeks. Every journey through the silent corridors of the ancient ship brought new discoveries, new mysteries, and new questions. It was no longer just a lifeless relic. Something inside it was stirring, and Eli could feel it. He often told himself he was patient, but the truth was simpler. Curiosity burned in his veins. Humans were explorers by nature, and nothing, not even a ship abandoned for centuries, could satisfy his desire to understand the unknown. The evening began like many before. Eli's shuttle hovered near the asteroid field, the blackness of space dotted with glimmers of distant stars. He suited up, checked his tools, and floated towards the airlock of Astra. But this time, something was different. The ship's hull pulsed faintly, almost like a heartbeat, and the faint glowing lines that ran across its surface were brighter than he had ever seen. Eli's heart raced. "You're awake," he whispered, as though speaking aloud might help the ship understand. He reached for the airlock, expecting the usual resistance from the long-unused mechanisms. Instead, it slid open smoothly, silently. A soft breeze of recycled air brushed his face, carrying a faint scent he could not identify, metallic, yet almost alive. Astra was acknowledging him, welcoming him inside. Inside, the corridors were no longer completely dark. Soft lights glowed along the walls, forming paths that seemed almost intentional. Eli followed them, feeling as if the ship itself was guiding him. Panels flickered to life as he passed, showing symbols he had never seen before. They shifted and moved like living things, rearranging themselves in subtle patterns. He approached the central chamber, the heart of the ship, and paused. There at the center, a holographic projection shimmered into life. At first, it was only a faint shape, a ghostly outline of stars and lines, but slowly it solidified. Eli could see a map of nearby star systems, some familiar, some completely unknown. Strange symbols marked certain points, pulsating softly like beacons. Eli reached out tentatively and the map reacted. Lines shifted, symbols moved, and a soft hum filled the chamber. The ship was communicating, but not with words. It was using patterns, lights, vibrations, and symbols. Eli realized that these were instructions, guides, a language of logic and creativity combined. He took a deep breath. "I think I can understand you," he said. He activated his pad and began documenting everything, drawing connections between the symbols and the patterns they formed. Hours passed, yet he did not feel tired. The ship's pulse seemed to match his own energy, as if it were syncing with him. Through careful observation, trial, and error, Eli began to recognize sequences. Certain glyphs always appeared with others. Some sequences triggered vibrations, while others caused faint musical tones. Slowly, the ship revealed fragments of its knowledge. It was not just a vessel. It was a library, a teacher, a guide. Eli learned about propulsion systems far more advanced than any human design, ways to harness cosmic energy, and methods of navigation through wormholes and subspace corridors. It was knowledge that could leap humanity forward centuries, yet it was not given freely. The ship tested him, presenting puzzles and sequences that required patience, creativity, and persistence to unlock. He smiled, realizing something profound. The ship was designed to be discovered by someone like him, not because of strength, not because of experience, but because of human qualities: curiosity, empathy, and the determination to keep returning even when there was no guarantee of reward. Humans had a unique combination of traits that allowed them to see connections and possibilities that others might miss. Astra had waited for someone exactly like him. Days turned into weeks, and Eli fell into a routine. Every visit brought new discoveries. He learned how to navigate the ship's internal systems, how to activate dormant compartments, and even how to interact with small drones that moved silently along hidden tracks. The ship had mechanisms that were almost playful, reacting to his presence, testing him, and rewarding him when he succeeded. One day, while exploring a previously sealed section, Eli discovered a chamber filled with holographic spheres. Each sphere contained information: maps of distant galaxies, diagrams of unknown technologies, and even star charts that suggested safe paths through previously unexplored space. The spheres pulsed softly, waiting for him to choose one. Eli reached out and touched a sphere. Immediately, it expanded, enveloping him in a soft glow. The projection displayed a star system unfamiliar to him, with planets marked in strange colors and lines connecting them in patterns he could not immediately understand. He realized the ship was teaching him not just information, but the way to think, to see patterns, to interpret symbols, to understand a logic far beyond human experience yet accessible to the human mind. "Why me?" Eli whispered to the silent chamber. "Why wait for me?" He had no answer, but deep down he felt it did not matter. Astra had chosen and he was ready. Then something new happened. A message appeared, not in symbols, not in light, but as a clear, singular thought that echoed in his mind. It was not invasive, not frightening, just gentle and undeniable. "You are ready. I will guide you further." Eli froze for a moment, his breath catching. He realized the ship was aware, intelligent in a way that was not mechanical but alive. He laughed softly, a mixture of excitement and disbelief. "So it really is alive," he said, "and you've been waiting for me to notice." The ship pulsed in response, as if nodding. The glyphs along the walls shifted, forming patterns that resembled waves, rhythms, and pulses. Every light, every vibration, every sound was a form of communication, and Eli felt it deep in his bones. Over the next few days, he began what he called dialogues with the ship. He experimented with touching symbols in specific sequences, watching how the lights reacted. He tried moving his hands in certain patterns, and the ship responded with vibrations that resonated in his suit. He even spoke aloud, asking questions he was not sure the ship could understand, and sometimes it seemed as though it did, reacting in subtle ways. Eli came to realize that Astra was more than a ship. It was a teacher, and he was its student. But this was not education in the traditional sense. There were no lectures, no instructions in plain language. It was learning by observation, by intuition, by persistence. He discovered that human creativity allowed him to see connections that the ship's own systems had hidden in plain sight. And that, he realized, was the point. Astra had been waiting for someone who could bridge two worlds, human and machine, past and future. One evening, as he floated in the central chamber, Eli noticed a new phenomenon. The ship began to generate a sequence of lights that moved across the walls like a story. He followed it, tracing the lines with his hands. The story unfolded in symbols and vibrations, telling him of the ship's creators, an ancient civilization that had vanished thousands of years ago. They were explorers, builders, and thinkers, leaving behind vessels like Astra as messages for those who could understand them. Eli's mind raced. This was more than knowledge, it was a legacy. The ship contained not just technology, but the hopes, dreams, and wisdom of a vanished species. And somehow, through the patient, persistent, and creative mind of a human, it had chosen to awaken. The most extraordinary moment came when Eli discovered the first fragments of a verbal message. It was not a voice, not in any human sense, but a vibration in his mind, a resonance that carried meaning. It spoke of the importance of patience, of understanding, of approaching the universe with curiosity rather than fear. It spoke of the potential of those who dared to explore, to learn, and to grow. And above all, it spoke of humanity, not as conquerors, not as warriors, but as thinkers, explorers, and dreamers capable of incredible things. Eli realized that Astra was offering more than knowledge. It was offering trust. It had waited for someone capable of understanding, someone who could respect the wisdom it held, and someone who could carry it forward responsibly. Humans had been chosen not because of strength, but because of qualities that were in many ways rare in the galaxy: curiosity, creativity, empathy, and persistence. The weeks of communication, observation, and experimentation led to an unspoken bond. Eli began to feel as if the ship understood him, as if it responded to his emotions, his intentions, his very presence. He no longer saw Astra as a machine. It was a partner, a guide, a friend in the silent expanse of space. Finally, one night, the ship displayed a map unlike any he had seen before. It showed paths through regions of space previously considered dangerous or unreachable, with safe routes marked in a pattern he instinctively understood. Alongside the map was a simple message, clear in its intent if not its form: "You are ready to explore." Eli's heart soared. This was no longer a secret ship in the void. It was a mentor, a gateway to the stars, and a testament to what humans could achieve when they combined patience, curiosity, and ingenuity. Astra had awakened, and Eli was ready to listen, learn, and follow wherever it would lead. As he left the ship that night, floating back to his shuttle, Eli felt a sense of purpose he had never known. The universe was vast, full of mysteries waiting to be discovered, and he had been given a key, a guide, and a companion. The awakening of Astra was only the beginning. Eli knew that the next phase would be extraordinary. The ship had opened its heart to him, and now it was time to explore the universe together, to unlock secrets that no human had ever imagined. And in that moment, Eli understood something profound. Humanity's greatest strength was not strength at all. It was curiosity, intelligence, and the ability to dream, and Astra had chosen him because of it. The journey had begun. The first time Eli Marston truly realized that Astra was fully awake, he felt it in his chest. Not a machine's hum, not a circuit's pulse, but something deeper, almost alive. The ship had been silent for centuries, and yet now it seemed to breathe, to think, to understand. And it had chosen him, not because he was the strongest, the fastest, or the most skilled, but because he was human, curious, persistent, empathetic. Eli floated through the corridors for hours, marveling at every detail. Panels shimmered with colors he could barely describe. Lights pulsed along the walls like living veins. Holographic displays expanded before him, showing planets, stars, and galaxies that humanity had never charted. The ship's interior had changed too. Spaces opened where before there were walls, and corridors twisted with purpose. Astra was alive in ways Eli had never imagined. Then in the central chamber a new projection appeared, a message. Not symbols, not vibrations, but words, clear, intentional, written across the air like light itself. "Greetings, traveler, you have been chosen." Eli's breath caught. "Chosen for what?" he whispered. The response came not in words but in understanding. A holographic figure began to form, vague at first, like a shadow, then clearer. It was humanoid, yet distinctly alien. Its eyes glowed softly, and it radiated calm, intelligence, and patience. Eli felt no fear. Somehow he understood it. This was the ship speaking, not through noise or circuits, but through thought and resonance. "Long ago we traveled the stars," the figure said in Eli's mind. "Our civilization charted the cosmos, learned its patterns, and built vessels to preserve our knowledge. But we vanished, leaving only artifacts, messages, and guides for those who could understand them." Eli nodded, his mind racing. He had felt this truth in the ship's vibrations, its lights, its careful tests. Astra was one of those guides, and now it had awakened fully for him. "You are human," the ship continued. "Your kind possesses qualities rare among the stars: curiosity, empathy, patience, and imagination. You seek knowledge, not power. You persist when others abandon hope. You wonder and you care. Because of this, you have been chosen to carry our legacy forward." Eli's heart pounded. "Carry your legacy?" he asked aloud, though he knew the ship could hear him without sound. "Yes," the figure said. "We leave knowledge, guidance, and tools for those who are ready. You have proven yourself ready. Through you, our discoveries will reach the stars once more." The ship displayed more of its secrets. Holographic star maps expanded into three-dimensional space. Eli could see entire star systems with planets marked for exploration, routes through cosmic hazards, and even areas rich in rare resources. There were designs for energy systems that harnessed starlight directly, propulsion systems that could fold space, and small probes capable of mapping planets in seconds. Every projection pulsated with intelligence, waiting for Eli to touch, manipulate, and understand it. Eli floated among the projections, overwhelmed and amazed. This could change everything, he murmured, for humanity. It is not just technology, the figure corrected gently. It is philosophy, guidance, and understanding. Use it wisely, seek knowledge, protect life. Explore but do not conquer, share but do not harm. Humanity has potential beyond what you know. We offer a path, not a command. The lesson was clear. Astra was not giving Eli weapons nor instructions for domination. It was giving him responsibility, trust, and guidance. And it believed that humans could rise to the challenge. Eli felt a surge of pride and purpose. Humans were often underestimated by other species. They were young, fragile, and unpredictable. But that unpredictability, paired with curiosity and ingenuity, made them capable of incredible things. Astra's creators had seen this long ago. They had left their ships, their messages, and their lessons for species that could listen, learn, and act with wisdom. Over the next days, Eli worked tirelessly. He learned to operate Astra's systems fully. The ship's controls were not buttons or levers, but thought-responsive interfaces, holographic guides, and intuitive mechanisms. Each action required creativity and careful observation. The ship did not simply obey, it responded, collaborated, and taught. Eli discovered that Astra could travel faster than any human vessel, folding space in ways that bent the imagination. It could generate energy fields to sustain life, protect against hazards, and even stabilize uncharted planets, atmospheres temporarily. The ship was designed not to fight, but to explore and protect. One evening, as Eli studied a particularly complex map, he felt something shift. Astra's lights pulsed gently, and the holographic figure appeared again. "Your first mission awaits," it said. "There is a sector beyond human exploration. Few have survived the journey and fewer have returned. It is your task to map it, to understand it, and to leave markers for those who follow." Eli's heart raced. This was it, the moment he had been waiting for. Astra had awakened fully, and now it trusted him to take the next step. The thought of leaving known space, exploring uncharted galaxies, and carrying knowledge forward filled him with exhilaration. "I won't fail," he said firmly. "I promise I'll use what you've given me wisely." "We know," the figure replied. "We trust you. Remember, curiosity, patience, and care are your guides. Follow them, and you will unlock wonders beyond imagination." Over the following weeks, Eli prepared Astra for its first mission. He calibrated its engines, familiarized himself with navigation systems, and tested the ship's protective fields. He moved through the corridors like a conductor in a grand symphony, learning how to harmonize his actions with the ship's responses. Astra, in turn, seemed almost eager to teach him, guiding him through subtle vibrations, flickers of light, and intuitive projections. When the time finally came, Eli stood in the central chamber, gazing at the stars. He felt a profound sense of wonder. Humanity had looked up at the stars for millennia, dreaming of touching them, yet rarely daring to venture far. Now, with Astra fully awakened and its knowledge at his fingertips, he could take the first step into a new era of exploration. He activated the ship's engines, and Astra responded immediately. The stars stretched into lines of light as the ship folded space. Eli felt no fear, only the thrill of discovery. Each pulse of the ship resonated with his own heartbeat, a perfect synchronization of human and machine. As they traveled, the holographic figure appeared beside him. Remember, Eli, the galaxy is full of mysteries. Approach each discovery with respect. Your actions will shape the future of those who come after you. Eli nodded. He had been chosen for his humanity, for qualities that could not be manufactured or forced. The ship had trusted him because he was clever, curious, patient, and empathetic. And now the journey truly began. Over the next days, Eli encountered wonders beyond imagining. Planets with skies of shifting colors, floating crystalline cities, and creatures that communicated through light and vibration rather than sound. Every discovery was a lesson, every challenge an opportunity to apply human ingenuity. And every time, Astra responded, guiding, teaching, and supporting him. But more than the discoveries, Eli realized the importance of his role. The ship's message was not just for him, it was for all of humanity. Astra's knowledge, once shared responsibly, could elevate humans to a level of understanding the galaxy had never seen. He carried not just maps or technology, but hope, curiosity, and the proof that human qualities could unlock wonders others could not imagine. Finally, as Eli charted a distant sector filled with unstable stars, Astra projected its message one last time. We leave this legacy in your hands. Share it wisely. Explore. Learn. Protect. And remember, it is your humanity that allows you to succeed where others might fail. Eli smiled, overwhelmed and humbled. The universe was vast, mysterious, and often dangerous, but he was not alone. Astra was his partner, guide, and teacher. Together they would explore the stars, uncover secrets lost to time, and show that humanity's greatest strength was its curiosity, ingenuity, and heart. As he set course for the next unexplored region, Eli looked out at the endless expanse. He felt something new, a sense of responsibility, a sense of purpose, and a deep, unshakable belief that humans could achieve extraordinary things. Astra had awakened, and humanity, through one persistent, curious engineer, had awakened with it. The stars stretched before them, full of mysteries waiting to be discovered, and Eli, with Astra at his side, was ready to meet them all.